Dear viewers, welcome to the podcast series on agricultural leadership. Today we are having the guest who is one of the prominent person in the National Agriculture Research System, none other than Dr. N.K. Krishna Kumar, former DDG Horticulture and former head Biodiversity International. He started his career as a scientist in entomology from the premier Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, and he went on to become the head of the division of entomology in Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore. Based on his contribution to entomology and agriculture, he became the director of NBAAR, National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Insect Resources, Bangalore, then Deputy Director General Horticulture Sciences at the headquarters, Nidoli. Then he became the head of Biodiversity International, wherein guided global agricultural research. With this brief, I would like to welcome Dr. N.K. Krishna Kumar. Sir, namaste.
Namaste.
Sir, we are very fortunate to have you here, to have your experience, so that your experience will inspire the young scientists in inspiring and motivating their future career. So, first of all, we would like to have your experience on DDG Horticulture as well as Chief of the Biodiversity International, so that this type of experience will guide the young scientists.
You have asked a very good question. Today, Indian agriculture itself is at a crossroads. Indian research and development, especially in agricultural research to meet the new challenges in agriculture, under the influence of climate change, under the influence of new onslaughts, new trade regulations that are coming around, and also to some extent the problems of plenty we have in rice and many other crops. Our considerable financial burden on the import of oil seeds and pulses, addressing both food and nutritional security is a challenge. While many persons can say that nutritional security can be addressed both ecologically and economically, horticulture is one of the best answers to address the nutritional challenges facing this country. We have to go a long mile because we are basically a cereal dependent agriculture. My experience with as a DDG horticulture has been that during that phase we surpassed the agricultural production. We produced about 200 plus million tons of vegetables, 100 plus million tons of fruits, and a little exportable quantity of spices. But the horticulture challenge is, as our income increases among the middle class and the lower middle class, the consumption or the fulcrum towards fruit should move more and more. That is a true representation of how we are able to address the nutritional security. You must be aware, India is also, in terms of nutrition, it is not just malnutrition. We are also in one of the diabetic capital of the world, where obesity is coming in the urban centers. There is a need to produce more food, there is a need to produce more fruits, there is a need to produce more vegetables, and the floriculture is growing at the fastest pace, a component of horticulture which farmers can really cultivate, flowers they can cultivate to enhance their income. Spices and condiments have been the strength of our export, and there is a tremendous scope for us to go further. But your question I would like to answer that we need to address the challenges both through fundamental and also applied research. Today's technology, unlike industrial and other technologies, when it comes to agriculture or horticulture, or for that matter animal husbandry, these technologies and scientific developments, they have to be locally grown, because a German variety may not adequately grow in Indian continent. We have to have our own tomatoes, our own onions, our own mangoes in order to meet these nutrition challenges. At the same time, well, the 20th century was mostly dependent on fertilizer, irrigation and pesticides. Everyone knows that the 21st century's problems are more to do with climate change, environmental concern, soil health. In my opinion, the environmental issues that I said today can be best addressed by the horticulture, not only from an environmental perspective, but it also fetches a very high income for the farmers. So, my main challenge as a DDG horticulture was how to regulate, how to monitor, how to make sure that we introduce new projects whereby the yields of fruits, vegetables and flowers increases exponentially so that the farmer is benefited, our food and nutritional security is also handled. In Biodiversity International, my main responsibility was that in the 21st century, agriculture, we call it as agrobiodiversity, should go hand in hand, and the fulcrum should move towards more of natural biodiversity. That means conservation of water, conservation of diversity, conservation and utilization of genetic resources such as crop wild relatives, work on pollinators, work on other aspects need to be conserved, and no country is self-sufficient. We have to collaborate with our partners so that we address certain global challenges while it is also extremely beneficial to our country India. So, my responsibility was to coordinate with South and Central Asia, whether it is with regard to grape genotypes or whether oil palm or with respect to any of the other rice and other things that this country requires, or banana for that matter. The Biodiversity International provided a leverage between the Indian government and the international sources to bridge that vital resources and germplasm that we need, and also came out with certain wonderful projects. This is how in brief, I would like to say about my contributions in horticulture and biodiversity.
Thank you, sir. Very nicely you explained about the challenges faced in horticulture as well as biodiversity management, as well as you spell out the strategies for overcoming those challenges. But now in agriculture, climate change is the major challenge as a whole. So when we talk about biodiversity conservation, how we can face the challenges faced by the climate change towards biodiversity conservation?
See, climate change we have to see in a different perspectives. The components of climate change which can manifest is through global warming, rise in the sea level, as well as we are also anticipating problems of new pests and diseases which can come because it has become a globalized world, as well as the other challenges that need to address through vector-borne diseases. Now, in the case of global warming, many of the crops which are tuned to, let us say 34, 35 degrees, they can tolerate up to 36, 37 degrees like capsicum, tomatoes. Even 1 or 2 or 3 degrees increase in temperature can have a drastic effect on yield. You may be aware that the terminal heat in case of wheat, even 1 degree increase in the terminal heat, India will face a loss of 1 million tons reduction in yield in case. This is more critical in horticulture crops because horticulture crops are not that resilient as field crops in adapting themselves to climate change. The other component of climate change that we are talking it is about the precipitation or the rainfall will be very intense, very few days, and it is totally unpredictable. So, you can have periods of drought, you can have periods of floods, and we are all seeing floods in states like Rajasthan and many other states which were not experiencing that kind. Why? In my own state Karnataka, the northern Karnataka is reeling under floods. So, the adaptation of varieties, whether using the rootstocks or selecting the true genotypes for mitigating the problems caused due to flood is also very, very critical. We have come out with excellent models using the traditional solanum, taro and many other rootstocks for overcoming the floods, and we are also working on the rootstocks that can address these scenarios. Of course, computer aided technologies in predicting these kinds of rainfall will help. One of the main challenges we face is with respect to the climate changes, the sucking pests, especially thrips, whitefly, mites, aphids and many others, mealybugs, they are becoming extremely serious because of the high temperature, their multiplication rates are very high. Many of these sucking pests are also vectors of some of the deadly viral diseases, and today whether it is coffee or tomato or any other vegetable, citrus, the problems of vector transmitted diseases are more. Red spider mites and other mites are becoming a challenge, and the pesticides that we are coming into the market are either losing their efficacy in high temperature or new molecules are not coming into the market. So the climate change is going to have multiple kind of impact on different crops, both with respect to pollination, with respect to fruit set, with respect to their adaptation, with respect to a particular variety doing well, suddenly not doing well, opening up a new vistas with regard to new viral managements. These are some of the challenges. We should see that the Andaman, which is definitely a part of our country, due to very frequent rainfall, the Arabian Sea has been facing a lot of cyclonic pressures. A small increase in the sea level is going to have a deadly effect on the Andaman, whereby the entire irrigation system can become saline. So we have to see in different dimensions from each agroecological zones, how are they going to be impacted. For example, in many parts of Kashmir, those apples which were cultivated in low altitudes, now we are automatically moving into high altitudes. So there are many aspects in which the climate change is going to impact the crop, and each case is important because this country is still 60 to 65% of the population is dependent on food, and we have to take these challenges very seriously.
Very well explained, sir. And during your explanation, you were talking about the pest and disease problem of different crops. You yourself, you are an entomologist and you are heading one of the entomology institute in Bangalore. So what is your strategies? What are your strategies? What you are going to tell for how to manage the pest and disease problem in the future?
One of the things that I advocate very strongly is this country needs a very strong quarantine. Many of the problems, whether it is whitefly or today everybody is talking about black thrips on chilies and other crops which we are not able to manage, new species of whiteflies, new viruses that are coming, mealybugs that are, all these are problems. Now today in apple, there is a new leaf miner which has accidentally come into this country and challenging the apple growers. So often we have a large border with countries like Nepal, Bangladesh and many of Pakistan, and our quarantine is very ineffective. And as a result, what happens is we are trying to address the challenges once the pest comes into the country. After that, we are trying to work out on the mitigation. This is very difficult process. I would urge that the first step in mitigating the entry of these pathogens is that we should strengthen our quarantine. The second one is more research is required on tiny sucking pests whose damage has been underestimated as compared to some of the other pests. Breeding for insect resistance has been a challenge, excepting for the case of BT cotton. We have not been very successful in breeding for insect resistance. But we should understand that host plant resistance is the resistance to some of the insect pests is the foundation on which other pest management strategies are going to be built. So what we should do is more intensive research, including molecular research, is needed in identifying mechanisms and come out with plants that can offer high level of resistance. We have not made effective use of the parasitoid predators and especially pathogens in the biological control. While many laboratories are able to synthesize the biocontrol, we need a very active mechanism of a number of laboratories through the intervention of the state departments, university and others, where they are multiplied in large scale. Quality assurance is ensured by the government and it reaches the farmer so that he need not indiscriminately spray into the field crops. The last aspect that I would like to tell is many of the chemicals which we were using for a very long time, they have become resistant to insecticides. There is a serious scientific view that resistance is only going to increase over increasing temperature and also under the conditions when many of the chemicals will not perform to their full efficiency under high temperature. So resistance management, like in the case of BT cotton, where we are facing the problem of pink bollworm resistance, problems of black thrips resistant into almost all insecticide, spider mites becoming 4,000, 5,000 folds that they have resistance. We need to put our more effort on resistance management integrated insecticide resistance management should be the icing on the cake of IPM.
Thank you, sir. You are highlighting about the different integrated pest management aspects of our major crops in our country. What you are heading the division of entomology and nematology in Indian Institute of Horticulture Research. During that period, you are promoting IPM practice in horticulture crops. So, what is your opinion in promoting IPM practices in future? Actually,
You asked again a very nice question. Our dependency on synthetic insecticides has to gradually come down, and we have to enhance the role of botanicals. As you are aware, we developed the neem soap and Pongamia soap, which was marketed. Now it is all over the country. It is at least known and used in many places. Till today, diamondback moth or leaf miner or any other pest to which it was recommended has not developed resistance to natural neem and neem products. Pongamia has been known to be one of the most effective botanical for resistance management, and there are many other botanicals. When I was also a director of National Bureau of NBAIR insect resources, we managed exceedingly well by the importation of selective parasitoids of papaya mealybug, which you are aware. We managed the eucalyptus gall wasp. We also managed the erythrina gall wasp and innumerable number of other biocontrol agents. Now, for any invasive pest that comes into the country, we should have a three-pronged approach. The epicenter, where first you notice, mercilessly destroy using any agrochemicals so that you don't spread, and keep a very close watch on the adjoining areas. But if the invasive is beginning to spread and cause, instead of indiscriminately spraying and creating more problem, we should identify in the place from where it has come, identify the natural enemies, especially parasitoids. And the work of NBAIR in introducing selective parasitoids. Recently, we introduced a parasitoid for the pink mealybug, and they are all paying very great dividends. In ICAR, we calculated that what is the contribution of one small parasitoid to papaya mealybug control, and we found that the parasitoid contributed to the tune of 2000 to 3000 crores per year by the introduction of one parasitoid, and the mealybug disappeared, and today the farmers are able to successfully grow. So, we have to document the challenge, document the economic returns that come into this country. Similarly, the entire paper industry came to us saying that the eucalyptus gall wasp is creating a problem in the paper industry. We imported a parasitoid. Today that gall wasp has disappeared and the paper industry has been very happy. So, these are some of the things we have done a lot. IIHR itself has done a lot of work with regard to many of the things in popularization of pheromone technology and others. We need to bring it to the notice of the farmers. There is a communication gap still where many of the farmers are not aware of those kinds of technologies. Second is the commercialization of these technologies has taken place, but the quality assurance of these technologies is lacking when it reaches the farmers level. And we need to seriously rope in the departments such as the Department of Agriculture, Department of Horticulture, University and such other sources to make the IPM more effective.
Thank you, sir. As an eminent entomologist, what is your message for the young entomologists who will be coming into service?
The young entomologists who are coming into this service there are a number of areas. For example, we don't have taxonomists for a number of orders, and we are unable to. Even today, I am thankful to India. We are far better off than any other country when it comes to, but still when it comes to a number of very important families and orders, we don't have taxonomists. While molecular taxonomy can solve the problem, traditional taxonomy will bring a lot of ecological knowledge. So, there is a group that need to focus on these particular aspects. The second group, as I said, is to focus on monitoring and documenting the insecticide resistance and insecticide resistance management. There is a strong group which should work on the botanicals. There is a strong group which should go into discovery of new entomopathogens. One of the breakthroughs that has occurred in the last 10 years is the use of entomopathogenic nematodes, which has been outstandingly effective on many of the root grubs and soil pathogens. and we have only a few species. The collaboration between the entomologists and the nematologists working on entomopathogenic nematodes can contribute tremendously. But one thing I would like to tell the public sector entomologists, this is not an isolated world. We are in a global world. Our ears and eyes should be open to what is happening across the country, across the globe. We have to be join hands hand in hand with the private sector, who are also very well aware of what is happening. And every entomologist, though he is doing research in entomology, he should be a pathologist, he should be a working knowledge of nutrition, he should be able to face the farmer. And only then, a plant protection man, when you go to the field, you are neither an entomologist nor a pathologist, you have to address very boldly the farmer's problems. So, learning is a continuous process. Specialization can be in entomology, but you have to acquire all kinds of parallel language and knowledge so that you are able to face the farmer in the field.
Thank you, sir. Since you have talked about the partnership with the private companies and all, now you are serving as a consultant for some of the private companies like Indo-American hybrid seeds and all. So, what is your experience in the private sector when compared to the public sector, and what experience we can gain from the private sector?
The private sector to Indo-American hybrid seeds, to which I am a advisor, Dr. Manmohan Attawar is a Padma Shri awarded by the government for he is one of the first persons to introduce the hybrids. I would call him as the father of horticulture revolution in the private sector. He was the first one to introduce Karnataka Hybrid 1, Karnataka Hybrid 2, petunias he exported to United States, and today Indo-American is the major player in floriculture. Now, as I said, floriculture has been exponentially growing and orchids have been growing even more. The Indian consumer, the middle class is also increasing in huge numbers, and everybody, industry, corporates, and everybody wants the flowers in their backyard or flowers in their office. Internal consumption has gone. You may be aware that in even jasmine during winter months the price can go up to 1,200 to 1,400 rupees. During festivals, New Year, Christmas and birthdays, everything flowers are needed. Indo-American, I would invite anybody who wants to know what floriculture can do through both their nurseries, by marketing. Also, of course, they are also seriously into hybrid seed production. Challenges are that the companies have got a lot of legal issues with regard to Biodiversity Authority, have got a lot of problems with regard to quarantine, import on time, and also parallelly many who are competing with the duplicate seeds. Some of the standard companies produce good quality seeds, but we also have very poor quality seeds. And this vitiates the very environment, and the farmer is ultimately at a loss. But the advantage that I have seen is, in public sector, they take a lot of time at decision making process. We are still at a stage the file movement does not take place. In Biodiversity International, I was ready to provide through Biodiversity International some of the wonderful germplasms from Africa on oil palm. Till today it has not materialized because the file has not moved. In private sector, it is only 24 hours to 48 hours decision. Second one is, public sector, the job is not guaranteed, but you can be sure that the best of the talent is always selected and monitoring that takes place. So, they make sure at all levels, because ultimately they are interested in money. I feel that the public sector in future need not seriously enter into developing a variety, but develop segregating populations like ICAR-NAARM and many others do. Open up your segregating populations and other germplasm to the private sector. Let the private sector pick whatever genotypes that is of interest. Let them pick it up, because they understand what traits at the end of the day are required by the farmers in different we call it as a placement segment. So, for example, let me give an example of our own company's Indam 5 chili. The Indam 5 chili is very popular because even after storing 6 months, the color of the chili is not lost. It is lustrous. Now, public sector, many of them do not even appreciate this trait. So, there is a serious talk that is needed between public and private sector. We have to take a public sector, private sector as our brothers in the development of food and nutritional security, and we have to provide them a germplasm especially encourage the Indian private sector so that they contribute very significantly to the development of this country.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You have given wonderful strategies for public-private partnership in agriculture. Finally, we would like to have your message for the students who would like to pursue agriculture for their career.
A few years back, agriculture was not considered a very rosy option. People were becoming either doctors or engineers. Many of the engineers became software professionals, earned a lot of money, and they all came back to practice agriculture. We all, at the end of the day, are deeply connected with our roots. That is the soil, cultivation, growth. Even Infosys, Mrs. Sudha wants to go back, Nirmala Sitharaman wants to go back, everybody wants to go back to their soil. Today, agriculture, as you are aware, has many dimensions. You can be a microbiologist, you can be an agronomist, you are an engineer, you can contribute engineering modules or engineering equipments that are most useful to the small farmers. You can be an extension worker, you can be a great biotechnologist, you can be entomologist, you can be pathologist. There are hundreds of fields where agriculture opens vistas in new areas. So, any discipline is very much open to be accommodated in agriculture, and I feel that we ourselves are facing, in fact in Indo-American, one of our main challenges has been to find industry ready human resources. We do not have good pathologists, we do not have good breeders who can come, and so we need more and more human resources in pathology, virology, in plant breeding, in molecular diagnosis and a number of other fields. So, I feel agriculture holds a great promise, but it is not the degree. The science should translate to technology, and with that technology you should be able to come out whereby the industry feel that you have a technology and whereby you are industry ready, then there are great opportunities for agriculture graduates.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your rich experiences, and we believe that this interaction will definitely inspire and motivate the scientists and students of agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate this opportunity provided by NAARM podcast to share some of my views. Anytime, my phone number is 844-728-4636, or you can contact Kumar, IIHR@yahoo.com. Thank you very much for the opportunity given.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.